The room was quiet when Barron stepped inside. Not the kind of quiet that felt peaceful, the kind that felt expectant. Denzel Washington was already seated, hands resting calmly on his knees, his eyes steady, his presence unmistakable. No cameras, no entourage, just two men, two generations. And one question that had been sitting heavy on Barron's mind for weeks. He sat down slowly, unsure of how to begin. But he didn't have to. Denzel looked at him, calm but serious, and said, "You're asking the wrong people, son. Doctors can keep you alive. But only the right habits will make you want to stay that way." Barron blinked. He hadn't even spoken yet. Denzel leaned back, voice low and steady. "You don't reach 70 by accident. You reach it by paying attention to the things most people ignore." There was no judgment in his tone, only truth. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. Barron nodded slowly. "I've been thinking a lot about aging. About health. Discipline. My dad talks about it sometimes, but..." He paused. "You're different. You made it look effortless." Denzel gave a soft smile. It wasn't effortless. It was intentional. He tapped his temple once. "You want to know what really keeps people alive after 60? It's not supplements. It's not workouts. It's awareness. Awareness of what you feed your body and what you feed your mind." Barron leaned in. There was no script here, no performance. Just wisdom, distilled into something simple enough to stay with you. Denzel looked him straight in the eye. Most people age because they stop asking questions. Curiosity fades. Movement slows. Their world gets smaller and they start calling it peace when it's really just resignation. He paused, let it sink in, then said softly, "Don't let the world tell you 60 means shrinking. For the smart ones, that's when expansion begins." Barron didn't speak. He didn't need to, and maybe neither do you. Because deep down, you know this isn't just a story about Barron Trump or Denzel Washington. It's about you. And what you choose to ignore or finally confront. So stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next might not just add years to your life. It might make those years worth living. Barron leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees, eyes fixed on the man across from him. "What do you mean by curiosity?" he asked. "Like reading books, learning new things?" Denzel chuckled, but not to mock. It was the kind of laugh that carried years behind it. "I mean asking your body questions it doesn't want you to ask. Why am I tired? Why am I stiff in the morning? Why does my heart beat faster after certain meals?" Curiosity isn't a hobby, it's survival. He paused, then added, "The body always speaks first. Most people just wait too long to listen." Barron was silent for a moment, letting that land. He thought of the people he'd seen in hospitals, in care homes, in wheelchairs too early. People who had once been sharp, strong, full of life. "What's the first thing people get wrong after 60? Barron asked quietly. Denzel didn't hesitate. "They sit too much." He said it plainly, like it was obvious. "They think rest is recovery, but sitting still too long? That's how your body learns to stop fighting. Your blood slows, your spine shortens, your muscles stop believing they matter." He raised his eyebrows. "The body doesn't need comfort, it needs use." Then he leaned in. "You want to feel 10 years younger? Stand up every 40 minutes, walk after every meal. And never, I mean never, let a day go by without reminding your legs they still work for you." Barron nodded slowly. This wasn't what he expected to hear. It wasn't about miracle cures or new technology. It was about choices so small, most people didn't notice them until it was too late. And maybe you've done the same. Maybe you've blamed age for things that were really just habit. That stiffness, that fatigue, that feeling like you're not yourself anymore. What if none of it is age? What if it's just years of sitting when you should have stood? Stay with us. Because what Denzel says next might be the reason your knees still work at 80. And your mind still wakes up at 90. Barron shifted in his seat. It wasn't discomfort. It was realization. You could see it in his posture. He sat up straighter. He was starting to feel what Denzel meant. "You talk like aging is a choice," Barron said, cautiously. "But what about people who do everything right and still get sick?" Denzel nodded slowly. "That's fair. Not everything is in your control. But most people aren't doing everything right. They're doing what's common, not what's smart." He looked Barron dead in the eye. "There's a difference between what keeps you alive and what keeps you from dying slowly." He picked up a small glass of water from the table, took a sip, then set it down with care. "You want to stay alive longer? Start with hydration. You want to stay sharp longer? Cut sugar. You want to keep moving? Stretch every morning like it's your job." He smiled faintly. "Because it is." Barron looked puzzled. "Sugar's really that bad?" Denzel's voice dropped. "Sugar is fuel for disease. It inflames the joints, clouds the mind, wears out the heart." He tapped his temple. "You think your memory's slipping because you're aging. No, it's slipping because your brain's swimming in syrup." Barron blinked. That hit harder than he expected. "And you want to know something else?" Denzel added. "It's not just sugar. It's stress, worry, late-night scrolling. All that noise trains your body to survive instead of heal." He leaned forward, steady and calm. "You heal in stillness. You grow in discomfort. You live when you stop chasing comfort like it's a goal instead of a trap." The room was quiet again, not empty, just focused. And maybe right now you feel that silence too. Because some part of you knows. Denzel's not talking to Barron anymore. He's talking to you. Stay with us. What he reveals next might not just clear your mind. It might reset your body before it's too late. Barron sat back, eyes narrowed in thought. He wasn't just listening now. He was replaying years of habits in his head. Late dinners, missed walks. Days spent staring at screens, calling it rest. "What about sleep?" he asked. "Everyone keeps saying 8 hours, no screens, blackout curtains. Is that really it?" Denzel's expression didn't change. "Sleep isn't a checklist. It's a mirror." Barron tilted his head slightly. "A mirror of what?" "Of how you live when you're awake," Denzel said. "If your days are chaotic, your nights won't save you. You can't stress your body for 16 hours and expect recovery to show up out of pity." He took another sip of water and placed the glass down slowly. "You want deep rest? Then earn your body's trust. Eat clean, move often, unplug early. Make peace before your head hits the pillow." Barron was quiet again. "And maybe you are too. Because maybe no one ever told you that rest isn't just time in bed. It's the reward for treating your body like it matters." Denzel folded his hands together, elbows resting on the arms of the chair. "People think they're aging because they're tired. But a tired body is often just a betrayed one." He leaned in, voice low but powerful. "You want better sleep? Give your body fewer reasons to stay on guard." Barron glanced toward the window where soft daylight filtered through the curtain. For a second, he didn't look like the son of a president. He looked like every man facing his own future, wondering what kind of life he'd wake up to 10 years from now. And maybe you're wondering the same, so don't look away, stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next might be the reason you finally sleep like someone who still has something to live for. Barron ran a hand over his face, exhaling slowly. "Okay," he said, almost to himself. "So it's the little things. What you eat, how you move, how you rest." Denzel nodded. But his tone changed. "There's one more thing," he said. "The one that steals more years than sugar, more strength than sitting, more sleep than screens." He paused, not for drama, but for gravity. "Loneliness." Barron looked up. "Most men don't die from illness," Denzel said quietly. "They die from isolation. It's just that nobody writes it on the death certificate." He sat back, eyes heavy with memory. "I've watched strong men, good men, shrink into themselves because they stopped talking, stopped laughing, stopped reaching out. They thought strength meant silence. It doesn't. It means connection. Barron nodded slowly, almost involuntarily. And maybe you're doing the same. Because you know what he means. You felt it in quiet mornings, in empty rooms, in the phone calls you meant to make, but didn't. Denzel leaned forward. You want to stay alive? Call someone, hug someone, forgive someone. Because one day, your heart won't beat because your body gave out. It'll stop because your soul forgot it mattered. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was sacred. And if you're still here, still watching, then maybe that truth hit you like it hit Barron. Stay with us. Because what Denzel reveals next might not just strengthen your body. It might bring your spirit back to life. Barron sat perfectly still. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't thinking about the next thing to say. He was present in a way few people ever are. Denzel noticed, and he nodded. You know what else no one talks about? He said. Joy, the kind you have to fight for after 60. Barron raised an eyebrow. Joy? Yeah, Denzel said. Not comfort, not distraction, not entertainment. I'm talking about real joy, the kind that comes from purpose, from play, from doing something for no reason, except that it fills your lungs. He leaned back, eyes distant for a second. I see men retire at 65 and die by 70. Not because of disease, but because they stopped laughing, stopped building, stopped mattering. He turned his gaze back to Barron. If you want to live long, you better find something that makes you forget what time it is. A garden, a dog, a child who lights up when you walk in. That's medicine too. Barron looked down for a moment, then asked softly, what if someone doesn't have that? What if they've already lost it? Denzel didn't flinch. Then they start small. One habit, one walk, one sunrise. You rebuild life one tiny joy at a time, until the body remembers why it wants to keep going. The room was still again, and maybe something inside you is still too. Because you know that feeling, waking up without a reason, moving through the day like it's just another checkbox. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next isn't just a habit. It might be the reason you remember what it feels like to be alive. Barron took a breath, slow, deliberate. The kind of breath you take when you realize something deep has just shifted inside you. You've mentioned a lot of things, he said. Movement, food, sleep, connection, joy. He paused. But what do you think really decides who makes it to 80 or 90 and who doesn't? Denzel looked at him for a long moment, then said calmly and clearly, your relationship with pain. Barron didn't speak. He waited. Everyone feels it, Denzel continued, but most people spend their whole life avoiding it. Avoiding discomfort, avoiding hard conversations, avoiding the gym, avoiding grief. He leaned forward now, voice low but firm. You know what I did differently? I didn't run from pain. I listened to it. I let it teach me where the tension was, where the healing needed to happen. Pain isn't the enemy. Numbness is. Barron was still. Denzel's voice softened. You fall at 70, it's not just your bones at risk. It's your confidence, your independence, your identity. But if you've trained your body to move through pain, not avoid it, you stand back up stronger. He paused, then said, the people who live the longest aren't the ones who feel the least pain. They're the ones who stay curious when it shows up. Barron exhaled. And maybe you just did too, because deep down, you know what he means. You've ignored those warning signs, the stiffness, the chest flutters, the shortness of breath. You told yourself it's fine, that it's normal. But what if ignoring it isn't strength? What if it's surrender? Stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next might not just protect your body. It might restore the courage you didn't know you lost. Barron looked down at his hands, then back up at Denzel. Were you ever scared? He asked. Like, really scared? That something might just take you out one day? Denzel didn't answer right away. Instead, he nodded slowly and said, "Yeah, I was scared the day I realized I had no control over the clock." Barron narrowed his eyes. "You mean getting older?" "No," Denzel replied. "I mean realizing that time keeps moving, whether you're using it or not." He leaned forward, resting his forearms on his thighs. "You don't get to hit pause, not at 50, not at 60. And especially not when your body starts whispering that the end is closer than the beginning." He took a deep breath and looked at Barron with a calm, grounded stare. "But that fear, that realization, it didn't break me. It focused me. From that day on, I asked myself one question every single morning." Barron tilted his head. "What question?" Denzel answered without blinking. "What can I do today that makes tomorrow possible?" Silence, heavy, important. Like something sacred had just been shared. "That's how I eat," he said. "That's why I move. That's why I don't go to bed angry. Because every choice is a vote for the man I want to be a year from now." He pointed at Barron's chest. "You want to live long? Then make choices your future self would thank you for, not regret." Barron sat back slowly. The weight of those words hung in the air. And maybe you feel it too. Because you've made choices your future self had to carry. And maybe it's time to stop piling on. Stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next might not just prepare you for tomorrow. It might give you the power to rebuild today. Barron's voice was softer now. Less curious. More humbled. "Has it ever felt too late?" he asked. "Like, maybe you already missed your chance to fix things?" Denzel didn't hesitate. "Many times." Then he leaned back and added, "But then I remembered something most people forget. Your body doesn't hold grudges." Barron looked at him, confused. Denzel smiled gently. "You eat better today? It thanks you tomorrow. You move today? It remembers next week. You rest well tonight? Your mind clears by morning." He paused. "You don't need a perfect past to earn a better future." Barron sat with that. "And maybe you are too. Because maybe you've believed it was too late, that the damage was done, that you missed your window." But Denzel kept going. "You want to live longer? Forgive yourself for what you didn't do yesterday, and do better now. That's how the body heals. Not through guilt, through action." His voice got quieter, more personal. "I didn't start stretching daily until I was nearly 50. Didn't cut sugar until I lost someone to diabetes. Didn't prioritize sleep until I felt my mind slipping." He shook his head, almost smiling. "But I didn't wait for permission to turn it around, and neither should you." And just like that, the story wasn't just about health anymore. It was about hope. So if you're still breathing, still watching, still wondering, stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next might be the reason you finally let go of guilt and step into a version of yourself you forgot was possible. Barron leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his voice low. "Okay, let's say someone starts today. They eat better, move more, sleep right, forgive themselves. What's next? What really makes it stick?" Denzel's answer came without hesitation. Accountability. He sat upright, his presence steady as ever. Not discipline. Not motivation. Those fade. But accountability? That's what holds you when the excuses show up. Barron nodded slowly. Denzel continued. "You know why most men fail after 60? Because no one's watching anymore. No boss, no deadlines, no coach. Just you and the couch." He leaned in slightly, his voice calm but unmistakably direct. "You want to live strong after 60? Then find someone or something that checks you, a walking partner, a journal, a grandchild who watches you stretch every morning. Doesn't matter what, just make sure your effort is seen." Barron thought about that. You could see it on his face. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was reflective, necessary. And maybe that's where you are too. Maybe you've been strong for others your whole life and forgot how to be strong for you. Maybe no one's watching anymore. And that's exactly why it matters now more than ever. Denzel let the moment breathe. Then he said quietly, "You want to stay alive? Don't go invisible. Stay seen, stay needed, stay useful. Because that's what keeps the blood moving, the lungs open, the spirit awake. So if you're still here, still listening, still fighting, stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next might not just hold you accountable. It might remind you what you're still capable of." Barron was quiet again. Not because he had no more questions, but because he finally understood which ones mattered. He looked at Denzel, his tone steady. "What's the one thing you'd go back and tell your younger self?" Denzel didn't blink. "Slow down," he said. "Not because you're tired, but because you miss everything when you're rushing." He shifted in his seat, voice low but filled with clarity. "I spent years chasing the next project, the next win, the next approval. And I missed moments that don't come back." He tapped his chest gently. "You want to live longer? Then be present. Feel your food. Listen when someone talks. Watch the sunset all the way through. That's not poetry, that's medicine." Barron nodded, slowly. "So you're saying presence is health?" Denzel smiled faintly. "It's everything. Stress lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. But healing? Healing only happens right now. And maybe that's exactly what you needed to hear. Because maybe you've been living 10 steps ahead. Or 10 years behind, but your body is here, and it's begging you to join it. Stay with us. Because what Denzel shares next isn't just an answer. It's the closing truth that could shape the rest of your life." Denzel looked at Barron for a long moment, then stood up, slowly, purposefully, his back straight, his balance sure, every movement deliberate. He walked to the window, looked out, then spoke without turning around. "You want to know the real secret?" Barron stood too, silent. Denzel finally turned to him. "It's not about living longer. It's about living well long enough to pass something on." He stepped closer, his voice soft but clear. "Health isn't selfish, it's legacy. Because how you live teaches the people around you how they're allowed to live." He placed a hand gently on Barron's shoulder. "So if you care about your kids, your grandkids, your name, then take care of the only body that gets to carry it forward." Barron didn't speak, and maybe you can't either. Because Denzel wasn't just speaking to him. He was speaking to you. And maybe this is the moment you stop surviving and start living with purpose. So take the walk, drink the water, call the friend. Eat the food your body recognizes. And above all, forgive the person you used to be. Because your second chance doesn't start tomorrow. It starts the second you decide it does. If this story stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Tap subscribe now. For more wisdom, more truth, more life. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay strong, stay awake, and stay alive.